So Nifty is trading around that 8,700 mark. It hit 8,700 and then dropped a little bit. So it's up about 2/3 of a percent. Similar movement on the Sensex as well. There you see 2/3 of a percent, exactly 0.64% up on the Sensex as well. And the broader markets today are looking stronger. BSE mid cap up 1.1%. Nifty next 51% up. BSE small cap index almost a percent up. And if you look at the advance decline ratios right now, 76% advances, 13% declines. Tahir Badshah is here with us. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Badshah. This absolute runaway movement that we are seeing in the mid-cap space, does that worry you at all?
See, the mid-cap index beyond a particular point, cannot be looked at on a consolidated basis. I mean, it's a very diverse index, and even though on a trailing earnings multiple of 32 times FY16 earnings, it does look expensive, but it is very hard to call on the forward multiples of the index given its granularity. So therefore, it is important to see mid caps in their own independent might and based on individual stocks and sectors to which they belong. So it is very difficult to give a broad brush comment whether the mid cap index looks expensive or looks like having done a lot. On the balance, yes, the index does look a little expensive, but then the growth rates in some of these companies can clearly surprise you, given the small bases, given the fact that they kind of, in many of these companies, they would be recovering from very depressed earning situations of the last few years. So I think, and last but not the least, the mid-cap companies versus some of the larger cap Nifty companies are relatively more leveraged to the domestic economy. And we are seeing clearly future trends bode well for the domestic economy, given various developments that we've seen in the past, particularly with respect to the monsoon as well as government initiatives and probably even 7 pay commission and so on and so forth. So I think some part of the earnings surprise could be justified in the expectations of the market for the mid-cap companies, and therefore some of these premiums also might be justified. But clearly the gap, as we see, between the mid-caps and the large caps has widened, and it is therefore more a case for the large caps to do a catch-up rally with the mid-caps.
Right. Okay, I was just reading an interview you gave about 2 weeks ago where you said, right before the earnings season began in earnest, and you said that you expect better earnings. Have they lived up to your expectations? Is it mixed? What do you have to say after almost 2 weeks of earnings?
So from the statistics which are available, if you were to look at the Nifty companies, I think about 25 odd companies of the Nifty, half of the Nifty has reported. And I believe the aggregate earnings is about 4-5% ahead of consensus estimates on this, on the reported numbers. Of course, we still have a large half to yet to go. But I also probably would have mentioned that, I would think that the second half of the earnings season this time around will probably be a little more relevant from the point of view of assessing whether numbers are going to be met or not. And that comprises typically of PSU banks, which we're seeing some part of the numbers. And we will also see numbers out of companies like commodity, some of the commodity-led companies, as well as...
When you say 4-5% ahead of consensus, the consolidated, isn't there the same problem that you were mentioning about the mid-cap index? Because here, if I take out Reliance Industries, for instance, right, which has got these stellar outstanding numbers, then quite a few of the heavyweights have actually disappointed. Rather than it coming ahead of consensus, it's actually below estimates.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from, but I wouldn't like to, slice it and dice it by removing companies which are, one of the companies or two of the companies. Let's look at the number in aggregate as to what is reported and what is there in front of us. And all these companies are relevant. Ultimately, after all, they're all part of the Nifty index.
The reason I'm doing it is that, the same logic holds. Because if one company holds up the earnings estimates dramatically, right, then it's a blip rather than a secular movement, because it's similar to one company pushing up the mid-cap index.
No, I think, see, there are two things here. One is, in contrast to the mid-cap index, what I was trying to refer to is that it's a very large index, and therefore, and there are many companies which are not necessarily actively covered and where the street doesn't have estimates on some of these companies, which is unlike in the case of the Nifty, which are widely covered and where we have relatively granular estimates of the market. So therefore, to look at forward multiples of the mid-cap index becomes a little difficult versus that of the large-cap index. That's what I was trying to refer to. Having said that, even in case of the Nifty, I think from while the reported number probably happens to be 5% ahead for whatever it is worth. The point being that some of the companies which have reported have not had a significant problem at the operating level. If at all there have been distortions on account of the accounting changes as a result of Ind AS or probably on account of one-offs which have caused the earnings estimate the net earnings estimate to have either moved up or down compared to estimate. So I'm saying operationally quite a number of these companies have put up a decent show compared to the previous quarter as well as the previous year. There will obviously be some companies, some sectors, like for example FMCG has had a reasonably slow growth. So I think let's take it in totality as to what we have reported till now, and that's where things stand.
Okay. Give us a sense of what you make of the private bank numbers. We've all been used to talking about PSU banks, being in doldrums. What do you make of the private bank numbers which have come out?
So I think by far most of the large private sector banks have reported, and I think they've all been modestly ahead of expectation, or at least in line with expectation. And they've been reasonably strong, varying from anywhere between 20% to 35% earnings growth in quite a number of these large private sector banks, frontline private sector banks. We've seen also some of the mid-sized private banks or old generation private banks having reported decent numbers. So I think in line with expectations, I wouldn't think that they've been significantly higher than expectation, but they are at the end of it, headline numbers are good numbers. We don't really see these kind of growths out of many companies in India.
All right. That's interesting because that's a very interesting and encouraging counter view that you're giving here for our viewers who are perhaps getting a little nervous about what is happening in that private banking space. Thanks a lot, because that gives a lot of hope and faith to viewers who are invested. If you could just take us through, I understand that you can't give us stock calls, but where do you see good amount of value still in? It could be bottom up. If you could just mention stocks rather than saying whether they're worth buying or selling.
Well, I think there is still decent amount of value in some of the auto companies. I think they will be big beneficiaries of rural recovery and 7CPC. I think they will be able to offset some part of the margin pressures which will arise out of maybe higher commodity prices. By the way, we are seeing some moderation in commodity prices of late, and that is something which will be reverse some part of the worries around margins of some of the auto companies. So I think that as a segment still hasn't gone to valuations which are unsupportive versus the underlying growth rate. So I would think that that's still a space where we can see action. I think you will see better growth rates in some of the FMCG companies going forward. I think pharma is a pocket which is kind of held back for various reasons, and quite part of the regulatory overhang is gradually receding. It's getting evident in some of the mid-size and the large-size companies, and I think over the next 1 year or so, these companies will have a good chance to overcome some of their regulatory issues and even accelerate earnings. So these have become reasonably good value buys and relatively better in terms of valuations as well.
Right. Tahir, if I look at the fund that you manage, and I would look that some of the insurance company are a part of your top holding. We are seeing a lot of changes in the insurance space. Companies getting merged, FDI money flowing into the insurance space. Last 4-5 years have been slightly difficult in terms of trust of insurance that people have. Do you think a lot of things over there are changing?
Yeah, certainly. I think as you rightly mentioned, we've had a slightly wobbly year last year in terms of regulatory overhang issues pertaining to bank tie-ups for bank assurance with some of the companies, and regulatory changes around that. So those have kind of held back insurance premium growth in the last year. And I think that is gradually changing. We are seeing numbers come back for the some of these private sector insurance companies in terms of new business premium being written over the last few months. Plus, there is added excitement as a result, as you mentioned. We've been going through these rounds of some acquisitions, some mergers, and likely listings and so on, which are going to happen over the next 6-12 months. So this remains. I mean, we kind of see this sector more from a longer-term perspective, and we think this is one way to play the financial savings theme, and we still significantly underpenetrated in low single digits in terms of insurance penetration in the market, and there are a few of the companies which are emerging as reasonably large, strong, well-established, good underwritten book, and this is ultimately a business which doesn't require as much of capital even compared to, let's say, banks. So this could be, in our view, a good longer-term compounding machine. Can grow at about 18-20% pretty easily without needing as much of capital. So from that perspective, I think it's a reasonably solid, long-term business opportunity.
Right. Something what we saw for the aviation sector last year, listing of a couple of large players, or listing of a big large player happening separately, may just reset the valuations for any of these names.
It is already kind of happening. I mean, we are seeing a good amount of excitement in some of the announced valuations of some of the expected valuations of some of these new listings, which are likely to happen. If you were to probably even look at the Max HDFC Life combination and what it is probably, what are the implied valuations of that enterprise as of today. There is a fair bit of valuation, re-rating which has happened in the recent past, and some of these expected listings over the next 6 to 12 months time will probably lead to that valuation re-rating. A little more of the valuation re-rating can still happen in these in this sector. So yes, you're right that a listing of a large company in this area could probably give anchor in terms of setting benchmarks for the valuations of the industry.
Right. You earlier mentioned that consumer is a space which is looking interesting. And if I look at your portfolio, you mostly have consumer durables or maybe two-wheelers that you have. So traditional names like HUL, ITC, the proper Godrej consumers, do you think that is something which may not give returns and consumer durables may actually do better?
So consumer durables has in any case been doing better, and that's also been driven by the fact that penetration in financing is becoming far more ubiquitous compared to what it was in the past, and that's also getting reflected in consumer finance companies, the way they are, the way they've been growing. So that's a space which will continue to resonate. But this is, if you were to think of it, this probably in more than a decade we will have first instance when the rural market and the rural economy as well as the urban economy will probably do well together. Over the last decade or so, we've had situations when the rural economy has been doing well and urban has been a little flat, or vice versa. So this is the first time it looks like we'll have a situation where there are good demand drivers for both the segments of the economy, and that should kind of propel the top line growth rates for some of the FMCG names. Although they are a little expensive in terms of headline valuations, but when actual numbers improve, particularly from the top line, and also the fact that they might see a little bit of better value revenue growth, given that commodity prices are firming up. So there will be a commodity pass-through effect as well in this space. So I think based on the plank of rural recovery, I would expect the rural part of those companies, the rural business of these companies also starting to get better, and that would probably excite the market.
Right. As far as, what you mentioned about pharma in terms of things changing, we are seeing things not being that great for the technology pack. So, large cap IT, we've had top 4 companies declaring numbers. Tech Mahindra would declare numbers today. But there, do you think valuations are attractive? So that will be supportive, and, it's probably time to look at these names maybe after 1 or 2 quarters?
Probably, I think they're kind of, beaten down to a fairly decent degree, and they've been underperforming the market, and led by the weakness of the first quarter results. It's been a bit of a tough quarter for them, for one reason or the other, depending upon which company you look at. I think there is also a little bit of the overhang of the US elections and visa-related issues pertaining to that, which probably should ease over the next quarter or so as we get closer to that election outcome. So I don't really think fundamentals have significantly changed. Yes, in terms of identifying companies in this sector, it will probably not be broad-based. We'll have to probably be a little more selective in what you choose. But the good part is that these are not at tearing valuations, and therefore, and these are typically companies which with a very good quality of earnings in terms of ROEs, ROCs, payouts, etc. So beyond a particular point, they will hold on to some basic valuations which are in line with the market. So selectively, in certain beaten down names, I would think that there could be opportunities.
Right. You earlier briefly just mentioned about pharma and things changing over there. Can you just put that into perspective of valuations? Because, some of the names have really not corrected. Plus, we have not seen any major earnings growth in the last 6-8 months.
Yes, so these are more like FY18 stories because for them FY17, especially at least the first 2 or maybe even 3 quarters will remain challenged, and therefore the valuations based on 17 will look a little expensive. But given that regulatory issues are kind of at the margin sorting out, we are kind of getting a sense that US FDA is trying to accelerate approvals, even in some of the more complex cases. And we've seen that happening in some of the mid as well as large size companies. Some more of it is yet to go, but if we get a few more, of the stickier approvals of some of these large companies going, then I think their outlook for, say, from the 4th quarter of this year or maybe into FY18 clearly brightens up significantly. And these are companies which could come back with, more than 25-30% earnings growth in the subsequent year. FY18 onwards. So I think from that perspective, and these stocks have kind of done correction, they've kind of rallied back a little bit, but broadly they're still not done as much as the market has done in the space of the last 1 year or so. So I would think this could be a reasonably good story to play out over the next 12 months.
Right, and again, in pharma, we've seen that every company has performed differently, every company has done different. So how would you essentially pick up the names from the mid-cap space, from the large-cap space, for companies where there are FDA issues and you expect them to, go ahead and improve, or companies which have come out of FDA issues and been quite strong? How would you look at this sector?
Yeah, so we have to look at resolution of some of the FDA problems, but then once the FDA problems are resolved, then who are the ones who actually come up with or have a reasonably good pipeline in terms of ANDAs filed as well as products being under tentative approvals or awaiting approvals, and what kind of markets or segments do they service or are likely to service going forward. So therefore, as a result of that, what is the kind of earnings swing that could materialize in some of these companies, because some of these products in many of these companies happen to be niche products addressing very attractive opportunities over the next 12-18 months time, and which could bring about reasonably good surprises to earnings. And there are a good number of companies both in the large cap as well as the mid cap space which are awaiting approvals for to be able to get that advantage. So I think it will have to again be a pick and choose, but I think there is a wider set of companies which is now well geared up with a good healthy pipeline of attractive products and which could help earnings. So it's not very confined to 2-3 names. I think one can easily identify 6-7 opportunities which could be a combination of large cap and mid cap, which could be attractive here.
Right. I'm looking at your portfolio. There is Bajaj Finance, there is Bharat Financial Inclusion. These are some of the names that have done extremely well in the last 2 to 3 months. And, markets have started to believe. We've seen target price upgrades coming in from various sell-side analysts to a very aggressive target price even from here on. Just about NBFCs, select NBFCs and microfinance space, do you think valuations are really getting stretched and, returns may be quite back-ended from here on?
So yeah, this space has done exceedingly well. I mean, well ahead of even our expectations. So while we were well positioned out there, and we've, as I've been always saying, that we've never had as much of private sector banks exposure in our mid cap fund, but we've had significant exposure to NBFCs, almost a 40% weightage, but across different kinds of companies. I mean, they're not homogeneous. They are a mix of credit rating to insurance to housing finance to microfinance and consumer finance, etc. So I think they've, I mean, it's been a good run for many of these names, but these companies have been supported by exceedingly good growth rates, well ahead of market expectations, and even their near-term guidances over the next 12 months or so remains reasonably robust. So I believe these companies are developing that edge, particularly over even some of the private sector banks or even public sector banks, because this is a business which requires now to, if you have to grow at such rates of 30, 40, 50%, you have to actually start getting closer to customers, more interiors, more of the official areas in the country. And NBFCs are very, very focused players in this area, unlike banks which have substantially different bouquet of services and products that they provide. So I think NBFCs can probably be much more nimble in this space and much more fleet-footed, and can grow relatively faster in this kind of situation. So I think growth rates are likely to continue being reasonably strong. Of course, given that they've had a very sharp run-up, one can always expect a 5, 7, 10% kind of correction. That should not be ruled out. But does that significantly alter the story, or does that make them very, very unattractive? I don't really think so. But I mean, we've seen a very large move. One should be prepared for some bit of money coming off the table.
Right, Tahir, thank you so much for joining us here this morning.
Pleasure.
That was a view coming in from Motilal Oswal, AMC. We're just awaiting the listing of Advanced Enzyme.